everyone. Welcome to the GradMissions Office Hours podcast. I'm Autumn.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lizanne, and I'm GradMissions VP of Law Admissions and also an attorney.
Hi, I'm Morgan Hager, and I am Client Success for GradMissions.
Hi, I'm Logan, and I'm working with Autumn on medical school admissions and some residency match advice as well. So, our topic today is about law school. So, law acceptances are maybe starting to roll in at this moment, which is very exciting. But where are we in the cycle?
It's such a good question. So, if you're not listening to this podcast in real time, it's mid-February 2025, 2026. Hi, Autumn. The date has changed. And we are in the middle of another, unprecedented cycle. Aren't we all so tired of, my kingdom for some precedented times. You know what I'm saying? But apps are up, which means applications are up, number of applications and number of applicants. So there are more people to apply to law school, and those people are applying to more law schools. So they used to apply to five, now they're applying to 15. And so that has made for a lot of volatility in this law admissions market. And it's why if you're like, my hair feels like it's on fire, yes,
Yeah.
it is. And that's the reason for the flames. There's a lot of gasoline. And so we saw a record number of people apply to law school, applying to lots of law schools. These law schools are finally starting to make some decisions. And this is what we see. It's like dominoes. So schools at the very bottom, schools at the very top of the US News rankings will start to make their decisions. And then as those dominoes start to fall, then these schools in the middle, where the bulk of you have applied, will start to make decisions too. So we're all starting to see some movement. Some of that has been rejection. In fact, a lot of that has been rejection across the country. We've seen a lot less affirmative decisions, but you expect that, right? More people are applying and they're applying to more schools. We're seeing a lot of wait list, but the wait list usage is very limited in a cycle like this. If a school puts you on the wait list, you get really labor intensive for them because you're emailing like, hey, how's it going? Hey, can I come visit? Can I do this? Can I do that? So if the school has put you on a wait list, do not lose heart. They would have denied you if they were not interested. So don't lose heart. And then the admissions. And I think that's maybe where we're going to spend the bulk of our time today is talking about those of you who have received positive admissions news.
Okay, so if you haven't heard anything,
Yeah. If you haven't heard anything, it's probably because you're not engaged with your schools.
oh, I wasn't expecting that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what should you do?
You need to book a campus visit ASAP. Yeah. We, in a cycle like this, schools are working to protect their yield. What is yield? Yield is they're going to accept a certain number of applicants. How many of those applicants are going to commit and come to their school versus how many of those applicants are going to look at that admissions offer, say, thank you, next. And they're trying to protect against the thank you next right now in law school admissions. So, for instance, we have some very high achieving students who smartly applied to target, reach, and safety schools, and some of them are being denied by their safety schools. And they're like, oh, what's clutch my pearls? Oh no, what's happening? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you have a 175 and a 4 point. Of course, that school whose median GPA or median LSAT's a 152, you're out of their league. Like they are not going
Yeah.
to shoot their admissions shot with you unless you've got to visit and
Yeah.
campus, and that's really where you want to go.
Yeah. They're protecting that yield.
They are.
Just like the
They
other.
are.
Yeah. So in terms of, okay, so if you've heard nothing, you need to reach out on your own
Yeah.
and
Book a
express some
campus visit.
interest.
Shake some hands,
Absolutely.
kiss some babies.
Yep. If you have been admitted, dare I say to multiple places, although could just be one,
Uh-huh.
um, is the school offering, like I know in the residency space, before you've been offered a position, obviously, but you've done your interview, you have second look days where you can go back and take a look at the program in person. It does not impact, whether they match you or not, but it's strictly for the applicant. Do law schools do something like that for students that they've admitted?
Yeah, so they'll have an admitted students day, and that's where they invite you, and it's a whole day of programming. They're really well done. You'll hear from deans, you'll hear from current students, you'll hear all about just program offerings and the community and things like that. And those are great. You'll sit in on a class most likely. They'll have a nice lunch.
The
Yeah,
Admitted
they're really
Students Days that Lizanne and I planned included they got to come and see the final round of the one on moot
moot
court
court.
competition, which
Yes.
I think is like the con movie festival version of Admitted Students
Yes,
Day. It was the Met Gala of Admitted Students Day. I
for
don't mean
sure.
to brag, but it was curated.
It was. I would say that ours was, the best.
It was the
We had
best.
an ice cream truck, things like that. So it's
That's what
meant
happens
to
when pregnant
be,
mamas plan your Admitted
yes,
Students Days.
for sure. I would also say though, don't just attend admitted students day if you're able to schedule an individualized visit, because when you have 100 plus students on one day, prospective admits on one day, you're not going to be able to sit down with someone in admissions and get all of your questions answered. Um,
Exactly.
they're going to answer general questions, obviously, during that, but everyone has their own, like we've talked about before, their own unique needs, unique situations. You're going to have specific questions about fit, which is so, so important to be focusing on right now. And so just like Autumn was saying, if you haven't heard anything, schedule a visit. If you have heard that you've been admitted, congratulations. That's wonderful. You've really put in so much work to get where you are. And now it's your turn to ask the hard questions and to see which school is the best fit for you. And that's really done through an individualized visit with the school.
Okay,
During those
so
Admitted Students Day, we would also layer in career services. Morgan, I know that was a place where
Yes.
you would come in and kind of work with us. So do you have any advice for students who are experiencing that part of Admitted Students Day?
Yeah, I think that's one of the what a really big deciding factor, I think it should be, in where you're going to school, because obviously you're going to school to eventually become a practicing attorney. Um, Now there's a few one-offs that are going to school for some other reasons, but for the bulk of you, your goal is to be a practicing attorney. And so you need to hear from the career services office. You need to talk with them, and you can hear their facts at an admitted student stay. But if you go on a visit, if you schedule a visit, ask if you can meet with the career service office. They should meet with you, I think. I think a good services office will want to meet with you. They'll get to know you, and you can find out not only what their like the ABA stats that you can look up, but you can expand on those stats, because that's just going to tell you where JD preferred jobs are, JD required jobs, but you can dial in when you're sitting down with them and find out where's like geographic location, what type of jobs these students have. Is it big log? Is it more smaller firms? Is it alumni based? Just all kinds of areas you can talk with them about just in a one-on-one conversation. And it's a great way for you to begin building that network. I know I harp on this all the time, but that networking is so key when you're an attorney, when you're practicing. The legal world is pretty small. For
Mhm.
how many attorneys there are, it's really small. And so, even if it's a school that you think, you know what, this isn't the top of my list, but say it's in the same region, you treat them like they're number one on your list, because that may be someone you come across in the legal world later on, and you don't want to be known as the student that didn't really care on their visit. It's super important.
I have some clients this cycle who are like, my top three schools are out of state. I have to pick Admitted Students Day or an ad hoc scheduled campus. When I say ad hoc, I do not mean show up at that law
Do
school on a
not.
Friday at 4 o'clock hoping for the
Absolutely
best.
not.
Because absolutely not. That is such bad form. Like Captain Hook even would not. He
Yeah.
knows better.
Yeah.
But when I say ad hoc, I mean you have scheduled in advance a meeting.
Yes.
They know you're coming. They've set up aside a class visit for you, maybe even a lunch. Like
Yep.
there are even schools, lesson cycles like this that will pay for your airfare and your hotel for you to come. It starts to feel like athletic recruiting.
Mhm.
That was more like 2013, 2014, right? Those are the good old
Sure. And
days
not
for
necessarily a
students.
public school. Not
Right,
necessarily the
right.
public schools
But
aren't.
it could happen.
Yeah,
Um, if you have to pick admitted student stay or an ad hoc campus visit,
yeah,
I would say ad hoc.
I would
absolutely.
too. And I would also let them know that
Yes.
you'd like financially you can't do both. And so you want to do a more in-depth meeting and get
Yep.
to know the law school on a normal day and not the bright, shiny, this
Yeah.
is who we are day. I mean,
You the squirrels on campus, right? Like,
yes,
Yes,
yes. Get to
for
know
sure.
the, I mean, the good, the bad, and the ugly,
yeah.
and be able to see what the students are doing on a normal day, not when they're like, hey, it's admitted students day, everyone dress your
Yes,
best.
Mhm.
for
So
sure.
you just, I would 100% do the individual meeting.
Yeah.
You're going to stand
And
out that way too.
you
That's
really
right.
are. And you're able to talk to people who aren't paid to be there, right? So you're able to, I
Yeah.
mean, obviously at Mid Student Day, they'll have some students, some current students there to talk with you. But again, they've been fed free bagels and coffee, like they're going to be in a really great mood.
Right.
And so being able to walk through and see how students are treating one another. Are they gathering? Are they, obviously it's a difficult time, but are they genuinely pleasant? Things like that. I think you can really pick up on that individual visit.
Yes. Okay, one quick aside. So I had a client last cycle. She had some very strict geographic components to her law school list. And she, at the end of her cycle, was between Seton Hall and Rutgers. Those were her two choices. She was admitted other places, but geographically, she like had the subway stops all planned out, right? Like this is where she was going to go.
I love
She went
that.
to admitted student stay at both. At Seton Hall, they did a current student panel, and the admission staff and faculty stayed in the room. At Rutgers,
Mm.
they did an admitted student or a current student panel, and the faculty and staff very publicly said, okay, we're leaving. We're not going to stay here. Y'all are going to have a real talk. And they left. And that was a
Wow.
deciding factor for her. She
I
felt
love
like they
that.
were more transparent. And so she ended up at Rutgers, and she's loving it. She's having a great experience.
I
There you go.
love that.
Just I want to
I do
I thought
too.
that was so she was a musician, so she like just looked at this world a little
Yeah,
bit differently, and I was like, wow, like I'm gonna pass that little nugget on to my other clients. That's a great idea.
absolutely. I love that.
So we've talked about these deciding factors. You have an offer, you're trying to decide where to go, meet with career services, talk about employment outcomes, get a vibe for like a real day, not everybody's shiny best, well fed with free food. I have a question about what I think is the most fascinating part of law admissions because I did not experience this in med admissions or med student services. The scholarship aspect. It seems like there's a lot of fast and loose with the scholarships. Like, are they are they negotiable? Can you ask for more money? I'm astonished by this because in the med space, there is no, if you are offered a scholarship, that is the money we have to give you, period, end of story. Like I would have students call my office and say, I'd really like to come there, but I need 10,000 more dollars. And I was like, I don't know what to tell you. So it seems like it's different in the law realm in
Yeah,
terms of the cash
I'd find
money.
the $10,000.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In law school, you would find the $10,000 for someone who needed it.
100%. I
Where
mean,
does it come from? How do I get the 10,000?
it's not real. It's just me waiving my tuition. And even if you come to my school and pay $1 and I still get your beautiful LSAT GPA, it's worth it to me. And this is where me and the accountants would just go round and round. Like the only time I ever came near fisticuffs in my legal admissions career is when the accountant was like arguing with me about revenue per student. Because at the end of the day, like we think there are these like, oh, it's this educational utopia. At the end of the day, this is a business, right? Law school
Sure.
admissions is a business. And accountants are focused on revenue per student, which was also what my dean at the time was focused on. And so I would break it down like this is how much revenue they're bringing in. This keeps the donors and the alumni happy because they have a high LSAT or they have a high GPA. I have some named scholarships that are for other things, but like at the end of the day, like I'm buying LSAT scores and GPAs. And so, let's say my tuition is $30,000 a year and you have an above median LSAT and above median GPA, even if you come to my school and only pay $1, I'm getting the benefit of your high LSAT and GPA, so it's worth it to me. And so, really, it's not a lot of that money is not even like scholarships. It's just like me discounting my tuition.
Yep.
So it's not real.
You really just broke up in a box there on. But people need to know that. They need to know that.
I mean, that's the real, and
Yes.
so because it is so, I mean, people try to have formulas and they try to be equitable and all these things, but at the end of the day, if you're in my
Yeah.
office and I've met you and we breathe the same air and I think you're the right, not only great LSAT,
Yeah,
great GPA, but you're the right vibes for my school. I will move heaven and earth to
yeah,
get you at my school.
Okay,
absolutely.
do you think that's
But
the same everywhere though? Because I know what it's like to work with you, Autumn, and you are like that across the board in all aspects.
Mhm.
Is that what it's like at every law school?
You have different motivations. So, I mean,
sure.
Harvard, Yale, Stanford, I want to start this conversation by saying Harvard, Yale, Stanford are the outliers, right? So our
Yeah,
clients who are negotiating that, like it's a
yeah,
different ballgame. There, it's only need based. There are some additional scholarships that they write. There are schools that have, they'll have fellowships. I'm thinking of
yeah,
NYU, WashU, they have some other outside. But when I'm talking about the recruiting and admission scholarships, like your application to law school is also your application for this pool of money. It's there to spend.
mhm,
Whatever you spend this year is what you're going to have to recruit next year. And so if I don't spend it, then or discount it or
yeah,
whatever my admissions budget looks like, I have to work really hard to spend that money. That's the other time an accountant got crossways with me. He's like, "You didn't spend all of this money." And I'm like, "Sorry, like I didn't have any students who qualified for that one." He's
yeah,
like, "Well, then you can't spend it next year." Oh my
yeah.
gosh. So
Because
like
the
I have to
budget's
spend the
work. Yeah,
money even if I'm not a charitable human, even if I'm like Ebenezer Scrooge running my
yeah,
admissions office, I'm shooting myself in the foot for next cycle if I don't spend what's on the table.
yeah,
Logan and Autumn, correct me if I'm wrong. I think this could be also what I realized was a big difference between med and law when we were discussing things last week is law schools report everything and they
Everything.
have to report everything. And the stats are out there for everyone to see. Where in med school, I learned last week it's not as transparent on everything. And so I think that's maybe where the financial aspect comes in.
yeah,
I don't know.
And I think when I very first moved to med school admissions, I was like, these people are murky. Like it's murky. I don't think it's murky maliciously. I think there are a lot more variables to what they report. And so there's not a way to compare apples to apples. Like in law school, it is, you know, the nutrition facts line up. But we've got like allulose and all kinds of like weird, sugar alcohols in the med school admissions process. So that the counts just are not the same.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
There's also
They
not
they
a governing body requiring telling how that information needs to be disseminated across everyone. And so, if you don't have to, like,
why
we're
would
going to
you?
show our numbers in whatever way benefit us because we don't have a governing body to say this is how you show your numbers. I will say, in terms of like the cost of medical education, yeah, I don't know if this supports it's all made up, like all the money is made up or it doesn't support it. I'm not sure. But one thing I do know is that like even though in med school you're paying a lot of tuition and fees, it's obviously very expensive. It's actually not covering your education. Like it costs way more to educate a medical student than what you're paying in tuition and fees because think of the physician salaries. I mean, think about what a neurosurgeon is making an hour, like what it requires to like be in the hospital, like it doesn't even come close to covering what the education actually costs.
I mean, even just you all covering the insurance for people in the clinical years is when I saw that number, I almost fell over.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I forget what that insurance is called off the top of my head, but that's actually something that we should probably do a podcast topic on to see what schools offer and what schools don't. But, if you get sick and can't participate, it gets sick in a significant way that requires you to be out of school or, have an injury or something like that. Perhaps your medical school pays insurance that would actually pay you to cover what you're not getting in loans. That's a complicated topic. But yes, I mean there is a lot more that goes into it. I actually hadn't even considered that piece of it, but that makes a lot of sense.
But a legal education, I don't have a simulation center. I don't have a
Yeah.
cadaver lab. I'm not paying a neurosurgeon to come in and teach you how to neurosurge. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's it's pretty like it doesn't cost me any more to have 60 students in my section than it costs to have 40 students in my section than it costs to have 75. Like I remember, a lot of med schools right now are expanding and the cap on that is clinical space. Like there's just literally not rooms for the bodies. Um And in law school, there's really like we can roll in rolling chairs. Y'all can sit on the floor, crisscross applesauce. You know.
Yep.
Makes sense.
I want to
Okay.
go back quickly to scholarships, just very quickly. Yes, to negotiating, but there is a right and a wrong way to negotiate. And
Ooh, let's do
if
it.
you haven't, because this was the thing, if you have not and I talk about this in my nurture call with our law clients, start the communication with the school now and start building that relationship. Do not, after you've been admitted, again, congrats, awesome. Do not send an email to someone in admissions that you've never spoken with before and say, hey, not even thanks for admitting me. Hey, I've been admitted to XYZ. I've been given XYZ scholarship. What you got for me?
Hmm?
It's bad form. Again, you're starting that reputation, you're starting that networking. That's not even a good way to negotiate. You start negotiations with someone that you know and have built rapport with. And so, again, showing up in every level of the process, not saying you have to go knock on their door and see them face to face every time you communicate with them. They don't have time for that, and neither do you. But starting that relationship early is how you get more scholarships and obviously medians as well. But you're not going to be able to negotiate well without having built that relationship.
You have to have both a relationship and you have to have leverage, right? You
Yes,
have to have
medians.
credibility,
Yes.
rapport,
Yep.
and you have to have some leverage. That leverage
Medians.
can be
Hmm.
that you're above one of the medians, or you've
Yep.
gotten above one of the medians, or you've
Yep.
been working, you retook the LSAT and you jumped up. Your fall
Yes.
grades posted and your GPA got stronger. You have three competing offers from similarly ranked law schools,
Yeah.
and they're significantly more than the scholarship opportunity you've had from here. Those are all reasons to go
Hmm.
in. Now,
Yeah.
the timing matters a lot. I have a lot of our clients
Yes.
right now like, oh, it's time to start negotiating. And so my question is right back to them. Are you ready to withdraw your other applications and commit on the spot?
Right.
Because if the answer to that question is no, then you are not ready to negotiate. Because
Right.
that is how you seal the deal. You
Yeah.
say to the school, very clearly, very kindly. It was so nice to meet you. Here are some things I
Yeah.
loved about my experience with you. Thank you for the time and
Yeah.
attention you put into recruiting me and reading my application. And thank you for the scholarship as it stands. Very generous. Here's where I am. I'm admitted to this other place. I retook my LSAT. My fall grades came in. All these things that have happened. I don't need an updated letter from a senator. That's racket at this point. It's
Yeah.
a waste of everybody's time. Here's where I am. Here's what I need from you. If you can get to name your specific price point, this is what my family and I have budgeted. This is what this other school is going to allow me to go to. I cannot go to your law school for, $10,000 more a year when I can go to similarly ranked law school for this amount. If
The
you
key
are
is
willing,
similarly ranked also.
similarly ranked, right? Don't send me an un-ABA accredited law school and I'm
Right.
top 10. And that's the thing. Lizanne and I worked at a school that, the tuition was like 30 a year. And people would send us, I've got $270,000 in scholarship from Pepperdine. And I'm like, I could honestly give you the building. We're still not going to be even at this point. Sorry about you. So you have to be reasonable, right? Compare apples
Yeah.
to apples. Have a number in your head and say it. I know that makes you feel squirmy. We can help you get to that if you're working with us.
Yep.
Here's the amount that my family and I have budgeted. If I can get to this price point, I will withdraw my other applications and commit to you on the spot. I'll pay my seat deposit immediately.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time. Your kids are cute. Right? Like a little
I loved,
genuflecting on the way in
yeah.
and
I
out.
love the ice cream, chatting with friends outside the ice cream truck at your Admitted Students Day.
That was the
Make it
best salted
personal.
caramel ice cream I've ever had.
Yes.
Be a freaking human.
Yes.
Yep.
Be a human, because then I'm rooting for you.
I was talking with a
Being,
student yesterday about a visit that she was going to go on, and I was letting her know that she needs to write thank you notes to everyone that she meets. Write a thank you
100%.
note to the professor that she goes and sits in on the class.
Yep.
Let them know, and not just thank you for letting me sit in on the class. I enjoyed it. Period. Done. What
right.
did you enjoy? Pull a
Right.
nugget that you from the conversation, from the lecture, from anything of the day, write that in there and make it, like you said, be human and make it known.
this isn't just good for law school admissions. This is good for
No.
life. This is good for
Yes.
like you're going to maintain client relations. You're going to
Yep.
move up in the world with your coworkers. Like this is just good life advice.
100%. And career
Sure.
services advice.
Yep.
It's how you get a job.
For sure.
Okay, so here's what I have on our to-do list.
Yeah.
If you have not heard anything, you need to reach out immediately and schedule a tour. Connect with them in some way. If you are admitted, either go to Admitted Students Day, or it sounds like preferably schedule an ad hoc individual meeting. When you do your meeting, or I guess if you go to Admitted Students Day, connect with Career Services. It sounds like talk to them about scholarship opportunity. Perhaps this is better over email so that it's in writing. Autumn is nodding her head yes. Okay.
Yep.
But you're only negotiating your scholarship if this is where you want to go, and this is you're ready to close out all other options.
That's right. That's
Okay.
right. Even if you can't still be waiting on someone from a wait list and you're like, but if they admit to me, then I'm going to go there. Then you're not
Yeah,
ready.
no, you're not ready.
Okay.
So
And
again,
then-
before you get to the negotiation, you got to do all this work that we talked about prior to
That's right.
making sure that that school is where you want to be.
Mhm.
And then last but not least, write a thank you note
Every time.
every time.
Every time.
Thank you email, thank you note.
I am
email
of
if it's
I do both.
Yeah, thank you
Immediate.
email if it's virtual. If it's
Yeah.
an interview and it's one-on-one, or if you have the Georgetown interview, Dean Cornblatt loves a handwritten thank you card. Loves it. So I just think handwritten, snail mail, go ahead and buy a book of stamps and just be ready.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're listening to this and you're planning to apply to law school and you want to start in the fall of 2027, you may be thinking, oh my gosh, that sounds like a full-time job. Guess what? If you do it right, it is, because something that Logan, you didn't even talk about, was making the strategic school list from the start that gives you the leverage to get to this point. So it is a lot. And if you feel completely intimidated by all of this, know that there are 500 things that we haven't even talked about that you also need to be doing to set yourself up for success. And the best way to ensure that you have the most advantageous law school admissions experience is to book a free 20-minute strategy call with me. You will leave that 20 minutes with an action plan, even if we don't work together. And if you work with us, you don't have to worry about any of this. We will help you at every single step. We will take it, make it digestible, and we'll have a lot of fun along the way.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and turn out the lights here in the podcast loft. Please follow us on socials. We're at GradMissions, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We'll see you there.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.